Hello guys, and welcome to this new video. Today we'll watch a game that was played today on the 9th of August 2015 between Sergei Karjakin and Denis Khismatullin in the Russian superfinal. This was the first round, so I'm covering some actual games. That's the first time I do that, just after a round covering a game. I pretty much like the endgame of this one, but let's go through it. So c4 was the first move, e6, g3. So going into kind of an hybrid Catalan, like a ready, but could be a Catalan also, especially if the pawns go to d4 or d5. So d5 was played now, bishop g2, knight f6, knight f3. Those are kind of like opening that high-rated player are playing actually. It's getting more fashionable again. It's pawn c4, queen a4, winning back the pawn because it was a check. So c6, queen c4, b5, queen c2. This is more or less classical. Bishop b7, a classical idea to take the pawn and then hit the queen with the b5 pawn and bring the bishop to b7. a4, knight b7. So for the moment there is still no pin because of this knight. Castle, a6, prophylactic move protecting the b5 pawn. Knight c3, bishop e7, d4, and castle. So we are going to stop here for a bit. So we have a typical Catalan position out of the opening. So what's the plan for both color? Let's start with black. The plan for black here is pretty simple. It's either to play e5, which is really hard to play in those type of position, or c5, which is here obviously the plan because the knight is looking at c5, the bishop is looking at c5. So in order to play c5, which is releasing the power of the bishop and seizing the center that was seized by white, could bring another pawn. What we should do? To play this move, we should play rook c8, queen b6, and pawn to c5. So this is the plan. If white does nothing, queen b6, rook c8, c5, and usually when you achieve c5, it's equal, but might even be a very slight advantage for black. So if we can manage those three moves, black is okay. For white, the plan is pretty simple as well. It's just to make sure black doesn't play c5. Because if black doesn't play c5, it means this pawn on c6 will be weak and the bishop on b7 is behind a wall. So both playing are kind of toward the same aim, the move c5. White here is playing first knight g5. So two ideas with this move. I highlighted the most obvious idea for the moment, which is to attack the h7 pawn. I mean, you don't shred the checkmate for the moment, but if the knight goes away, it's a checkmate on h7. Let me show that even if it's a simple tactic. So this is the first idea, hit the h7 pawn. And the second idea is what happened into the game after h6, because this is a very annoying threat on h7. The knight is going back on e4, and this knight that was on f3 now is looking toward the c5 square. So the important square for the moment in the game. Here, black is playing a very good move. When two knights are looking at each other like that, they are kind of annoying each other because they are taking a square where the other knight would love to come. Like this knight would love to come to e4, but it's impossible because the square is already occupied. So there is not such a good use for black to take this knight and trade the f6 knight against the c3 knight. He rather go as he played knight d5. Why this is good? So first of all, repeating myself, but this knight cannot make an intervention on c5 now because the two squares are occupied. Okay, so it cannot go to control the c5 square. Secondly, while the knight is on c3, the queen is not looking towards c5 as well, because the knight is hiding it from white. Also, this knight on d5 is closing the long diagonal, which means when we play c5 there are normal pins and it makes it just a bit easier to move c5. Knight d5 is a good move. White goes rook d1. So here it's already obvious for both players, because they are taking a long time to play their moves. It's obvious that white can't do anything against c5 here. Black will be able to proceed its plan. So white is just trying to make sure the position is going to be equal after black plays the key move. So queen b6, bishop f4. Well, we need to develop the bishop. You have to link your rooks. So we are giving the bishop pair here. It happens in the game. But the thing is that all those pawns here, and this one is going to be pushed, are on dark squares. So it means even if we are missing the bishop, the pawns are doing a really good job in the center to control the dark squares. So it's not a dramatic loss. I mean, you always love to have the bishop pair, but here, because we have a good hand with your pawns, it's not such a big deal. So rook c8, proceeding the plan. We want to play c5. White can't do anything. e3 and c5 finally arise. And here we will witness a massive exchange of piece, as black is slightly better and white can just go taking c5, b5, now taking c5. So we trade the knights. Now we trade the bishop, and we bring the queen to e4. Here, if you don't take the queen, I mean, this queen on e4 is perfectly placed. It's helping the rooks to come. And of course, it's better for black just to take the queen here, not to ignore. I mean, you don't want to keep such a strong piece in the center. So we just trade the queens. And in the last 5 moves, as I said, as white was slightly worse, they just decided to exchange all the pieces. So what do we have now? We have an endgame. So black has the bishop against the knight. The bishop is a slightly better piece. And white has double pawns. So one might think that black has a good advantage. But here this pawn on b5 is well advanced, and it's not that easy to defend that. Also, those pawns, those double pawns are double toward the center. There are no clear weaknesses, and the pawns are making like a wall against this bishop. So the dark square bishop is not going to do so good against those pawns. They protect well each other. So it's just a very slight advantage for black, but usually you can't win such position. So black played rook c4. I did watch with the computer the move rook c2, because I thought you can attack the pawn like that immediately. But white could answer rook a7, bishop h4 to keep the bishop, and rook d2. And I mean, here I don't go further, but I mean, you just trade the pieces, and this is always close to equal. I mean, nothing special. I mean, rook c4 was played in the game is not worse. We'll understand later why I was looking at the possibility for black. So rook c4, rook d7, bishop h4. So it's the only square where the bishop would hit a pawn. So he hits the base of the pawn chain. Knight d2, a good way to defend, bringing the rook on the 7th rank and bringing the knight to d2, because this knight on d2, it's covering the f2 pawn and it's protecting the b3 pawn. So I really love the conception here by Karjakin to bring the rook on the 7th rank and then go back with the knight. So everything is protected. Now, black did a slight mistake. The first mistake in this endgame, they played rook d8. Here, black would better go rook b2, more or less forced. What will happen? Rook b1, rook takes, knight takes, rook c8. straightening check and winning a piece on the first rank. Knight e2, rook c2, king f1, and by example bishop f6. This is just always really close to being a draw. I mean, this is going to be a draw in a few moves if nothing special happen. I mean, Black just can defend himself, but we'll go a bit further into this game. Just an example of what could do. So rook d8, slight mistake because rook takes, bishop takes, knight e4. So now white is running rook a8, pinning the bishop. So black goes back, bishop h4. Here bishop e7, so he went bishop h4. But here bishop e7 was a better move because it's an easier way to defend. Rook a8, bishop f8, knight d6, and pawn to b4. The idea is that you can just defend yourself, as I did earlier, with bishop defending the pawn. So the pawn is not a problem anymore. Go like knight c4, f6, knight b6, rook d2, knight a4, king f7. And again, this is just an easy way to defend. Those knight moves were the computer moves, by the way, bringing the knight to a4. I was just playing for black and he was playing for white. But I mean, mainly the idea is bishop defends the pawn, the rook into the second file, the second rank. I mean, nothing can happen for black here. I even think this still have a slight advantage. The Khismatullin wait, bishop h4, rook a8 check, king h7, rook b8, and here the first real mistake was to play f5. Not real mistake, I mean it induced this to defend the pawn, it induced to play the move f5, and now the b5 pawn and the x6 pawn are slightly weak. So knight g3, rook c5 defending the pawn, rook b6, and here black played g6. It was easier to defend by bishop take, pawn takes, e5, pawn takes, rook takes, king g2, rook d5, and here the idea you will see, king f3, g6, rook b7, king g8. And the thing is that even if we have those weaknesses here, and the white rook is better than our rook, the thing is that it's hard for white to make a progression because the e4 square is occupied. I mean, the king cannot go through e4, and it cannot go through e2 and d2 as well because of the rook. And this is again a drawn endgame. The thing now with, I mean, not drawn, I mean, it's just a very, very little advantage for white, and it's really close to a draw. The other thing after g6 is that white can go knight e2 now, because after rook c2 we have king f1, and the knight is coming to d4 and is looking toward those two pawns, and so now somehow the knight is better than the bishop suddenly. So black is searching really for counterplay, g5, pawn g5, pawn g5, rook e6, they're losing a pawn. Now we go rook c2, king f1, rook b2, just going through the move because it's the counterplay, rook e5, rook b3, rook f5, king g6, and rook c5. Okay, so here now white is a pawn up, but black has this dangerous passed pawn. I mean, the bishop is way worse than the knight now, and it's still as all the rook endgame drawish, but now you have to play really precisely with black, and the things that Karjakin just played an enormous, just going to play a mammoth endgame. So rook b2, rook d5, waiting move. White is waiting for black to push in order to come behind. So in endgame you often see players just, it's Carlsen-like style, just playing a waiting move before rook b5, so the rook behind the pawn. the best way to defend. Here, black played g4. The thing is that black could have played instead of g4, offering the f4 square for the knight and weakening his pawn more. He could have kind of waited, like play king f6, h3, king g6, just king example, knight g3. Now coming away with the knight, because that's the only square you can go on, because the pawn is attacked. And if you go like f3, we could play rook f1 check and rook b2, so it would just be a draw by repetition. So let's go knight g3, bishop takes, pawn takes, king f6, king g6. And I mean, it's not clear to see how white could push either pawn here, because the rook is covering the second file and will be able to exchange a pawn against another one. I mean, rook h2, rook h5 is coming next, and this is a Philidor-like position. It's a drawn position. So I'm not sure why Khismatullin. Maybe some of you will tell me, because I just annotated the game was played a couple of hours ago. I just don't know why he just didn't just waited for white to show something, maybe to push the e pawn. But I think he's getting to. I watched a bit with the computer. I think it's hard to push that alone. So that's an idea showing to you to defend the endgame. Things that are g4. There will be some knight f4 check. So starting with e4 now. So I'm showing knight f4 check, king f6, rook f5 check, and rook h5. So he's driving the bishop away from this pawn in order to free the knight. Bishop is f6, e5 now, knight f4. So you see knight is really active. Might be some checks with some forks. So a knight is always really annoying in those positions, and the pawn on e5 is really is already close to the end zone. King e8, rook g5, bishop f8. Here I would have tried, so he played bishop f8. Here I would have tried bishop h6, rook g4, b3, so rook h4 to attack the bishop, take, rook c2, rook b4, pawn b2, king g2, king e7, rook b6, rook e2. Well, there are plenty of ways to go into this endgame. I mean, just go through variations. There are plenty of other possibilities, and this must be drawn with the two pawns against the rook. But all those endgames are always very tricky, so I won't say it's drawn. It's just an advantage for white, but it's possible to draw this one, though you need to be a very good endgame specialist to do so. So he played bishop f8, probably didn't want to go to these two pawns endgame. He was not confident enough to make sure he could make the job against the f and the h pawns. Bishop f8, rook g4, b3. I would like to stop here just to say that even if white is giving up the knight against the pawn, the endgame would just be drawn, because even if you give up the knight and the three pawns against the b3 pawn, so if you give like pretty much everything you have, a rook and a bishop against a rook is a drawn endgame. It's just to say what happened in the last 15 moves, 10-15 moves, is that white has absolutely no risk to lose the game, even if it just black out for quite some time. Can always give the knight, take the pawn, and make the draw. While black is really fighting for his life now. Rook g3, bishop c5, knight d3, perfectly placed, nice knight. Rook b1, king g2, b2. So here I would like you to take 10 seconds or pause the video and tell me what we could play with white and why. Okay, so here white played the excellent knight takes c5. The thing is that the line coming is forced, but here, let me just go where I did the annotation, knight e3. Here, the rook will always protect the knight will help the pawn, and we will slowly but surely be able to push the pawns with those three pieces in harmony, protecting each other. Look how it happens. Queen c6 check, king g1. No more checks for the queen. You cannot come to c1, it's covered. Queen e4, pawn to h3, giving a square for the king. On h2 we are always sure there is no check comings, because you cannot come from any diagonal or any rank. King e7, rook e3. Now we want to bring the knight to e1, then play rook g3 back, then bring the knight to f3 and the rook to g4, and then we'll be able to move the king forward. So queen d5, knight e1, queen d1, pinning the knight, so king h2, queen to b1, king g2, coming close to the pawn, queen g6, rook g3, again covering, queen e4, knight f3. So now the king is perfectly protected by his pieces. The knight is protecting the pawn, everybody is protecting each other. King f8, rook g4. So now we are going to the second step of the plan. Rook g4, king g3, pawn to h4. We could bring the rook to f4 then, and maybe the knight to g5. Or the rook to g5. It depends. But we are going to bring the king further. So queen f5, king g3, threatening rook f4, queen b1, pawn to h4, queen h7, rook f4 check. Don't forget the king is always a weak piece now that we are advancing. A lot of x-ray might happen or forks with the knight. King e8, rook f6. So we are getting the pass for the king now. Queen g8, knight g5. So now the only weak piece is the pawn, but we'll be able to protect it with our pawn. Queen b3 check, king g4, look at that. It's just advancing. You cannot stop that. Queen d5 attacking the pawn. Now the rook is coming to e6. So taking squares, seizing squares. Time after time, move after move. King h5, so now the king is coming behind. It's always hard to check, because if you go queen d1, I just go f3. And there are no more checks, the knight is covering it. Queen d4, f4. So now we will bring the king on g6 and the pawn to f5. Still no checks around. If queen f4, obviously we have rook f6, winning the queen. As I said, the black king is weak. Queen d1 check, king g6, queen g4, pawn to h5, still can take that. Queen g1, h6, queen g2, rook f6, check. And black resigned just because you cannot stop this pawn from queening like that. We can just play h7, queen here. And I don't know, so many moves wins, maybe queen b6. It's the easier. With rook b8 check next, rook b8 next, like king d7, rook b8. And this is game over. Queen c6, the last attempt. And pawn to e6. Check. Just an example, but I mean, millions ways how it could happen. So, Sergei Karjakin won the first round of the Russian superfinal. I hope you enjoy this game. This is the first time I'm commentating a game just after it happened. So your feedbacks are interesting as well, as with the video I did between Shirov and Bareyev, just testing different formats, and interesting for me what do you guys like, and if you'd like to see more of those videos. So thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.